Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday, it is 3 p.m. ET, and you have found us right here on a special edition of Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. And we are so thrilled that you are here today because we have one of my favorite authors of all times, the fabulous Heather Gudenkauf. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15 novels of suspense. My brand new book, One Wrong Word, which you can see looks like this, is out right now. And thanks to you all, it just went into a second printing. So I am incredibly grateful for that. It is sort of scandal meets suits, One Wrong Word. And I hope you will look for that. But we are not here to talk about my book today, unless you want to. We are actually here to talk about the fabulous Heather Gudenkauf's amazing Everyone is Watching. And I will tell you, it is riveting, it is propulsive, it is jaw-droppingly surprising, and it is kind of a new way of writing for Heather Gudenkauf. It's equally sinister, equally scary, equally surprising, equally page-turning as all of her other marvelous books. But this has a little bit of a different edge, and I cannot wait to talk to Heather about that. It is not out till March 26th. Hey, Shannon Hansen. But of course, you can pre-order it right now. Hi, Emily. Yes. Hello, Emily. My favorite ladies, she says. Thank you so much. And here's Diane Dick from Oregon, and Deborah Press, and Renee Herskowitz, and Mary Garrett. This is so nice to see you all in Shanson and Avalon Gray. Welcome, 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 all of you to Crime Time with Heather Gudenkauf today, and Everyone is Watching. So it comes out March 26th. So you're hearing about here first. But for you, Heather, the lead up to having a book come out, what is that like? What are you doing, and how are you preparing, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, well, I actually made a post about this not that long ago. I said I'm excited, nervous, terrified, ecstatic, and grateful. And then I said I'm ex-nerve to couple. I've created a new word from all those emotions that all put together because it is such a fun, exciting time, but a little bit scary too when you've worked so hard on something and spent so much time, and to send it out into the world, you're just hopeful that people will enjoy it. But I'm very much looking forward to having readers get their hands on this and tell me what they think.
Well, the buzz is so amazing. I mean, one of the things about social media is that you can kind of gauge whether people are interested in this book. And I see so much buzz on Instagram and Facebook and the other social media about this. Do you notice that? Do you see it? Do you look for it? Can you not resist it?
Yeah, I really enjoy the relationships I've been making with readers on social media. So I do really appreciate when readers express their excitement about my book or other authors' books as well, because really nothing we like doing better, right, than talking about books. And it's extra special when it's one that I've created.
Well, I think it's interesting what you brought up about spending a year working on your novel. And then it's going out into the world, and the first little tendrils of discussion start, growing in social media garden. I mean, this is just a horrible metaphor. I'm going to stop it. You can't help but notice it, and we all want that reassurance from readers that the beautiful idea that we created is resonating with them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. When we're sharing the cover of our book or the back cover, giving readers a sneak peek into what we've been working on for so long, and we hope that something in that captures their attention. And for me, this book is quite a bit different than some of the other books I've written, so that makes it a little extra angsty for me because that readers might expect a certain something, and then I'm giving them something a little different, and I hope they receive it with open arms.
Well, I can tell you, and we'll talk about that much more specifically in a bit, but Valerie says we've all been waiting for reality shows to go to this extreme. Okay, Valerie, I bet you've already read it. But let me tell you that we'll talk about that more because I think it's important. And I think as authors, we're always trying to grow and challenge ourselves. Is that part of what you were doing in this novel?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. For my first 9 novels, um, my stories were set squarely in my home state of Iowa, and which I love writing about. I love writing about Iowa and the communities, the people, fictional and otherwise. And I knew for this book, which is the story of these 5 strangers who come together to take part in this reality competition series, I had to step out of my comfort zone, which
And
is Iowa.
I'm going to stop you right there because
Yes.
I want to go into that. And I promised Heather that I was
Yes.
going to ask her one question before we got to the
Oh,
house.
yes.
And we just went on because what she was saying was so fascinating. But I want to let you expound on that a little bit more. Let me welcome you all again to A Mighty Blaze. Shannon Hansen is here. And as you saw, Valerie Brooks is here, who's clearly read the book and read about it. When I look over here, you all, I want you to know, hi, Kim, that I'm looking at the comments. Renee is saying, what does Lolo think about your new book? We will get there. We'll get to Lolo in 1 second. But all of you, if you are new to Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze, welcome, welcome, welcome. You veterans know that Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze was begun at the beginning of the pandemic, now 4 years or so ago, by the fabulous powerhouse duo of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us all talking about books and discovering new books and making a new community of readers and writers. And we have done that, and we have persevered now for 4 years, and we are still going strong because of all of you who come to our events. And we are so continually honored and thrilled about that. And I'm really honored to be your host. It's marvelous for me to be reading the books that I would ordinarily read anyway, and then getting to talk to these wonderful authors. Speaking of wonderful authors, our author for today is Heather Gudenkauf, and let me tell you a little bit about her. She is the Edgar-nominated New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of 9, now 10 novels. Her debut novel, The Weight of Silence, was an instant New York Times bestseller and remained on the list for 22 weeks. That must have been incredible. Gudenkauf's critically acclaimed novels have been published in more than 20 countries and have been included in many, I'll just say many bests of lists. Her 10th novel, Everyone is Watching, hold that up, Heather, will be released on March 26th, 2024, which is next Tuesday, I think, and we're all ready for that. Heather lives in Iowa with her family and a very spoiled German short-haired pointer named Lolo, who is an icon in her own right. In her free time, Heather enjoys spending time with her family, reading, swimming, and hiking. She is currently at work on her next novel. But right now, today, we're going to talk about her current novel, which comes out next week. Everyone is Watching. This book is so irresistible. And could you just tell us as much as you can, as much as you're comfortable with, about what this book is about? Just set it up for us, if you will.
Sure. So it's the story of 5 strangers from all across the United States who come together because they're invited to take part in this reality competition series, kind of, like Survivor, Big Brother, you get those kinds of vibes. And so, and the really big thing about this is that they're all competing for $10 million. So the pot is huge and the stakes are really high because each of the contestants has a reason for needing this money quite desperately. And so they travel from their homes to Northern California, to wine country, to this remote estate. And once they get there, they very quickly come to realize that the game they signed up for wasn't quite what they were expecting. And the competition gets more and more dangerous, dare I say, even deadly. And secrets that were meant to stay hidden start to emerge as the game goes on.
And one of the things you do so beautifully in this book, and Renee says, happy early pub day. One of the things you do so beautifully in this book is, as you indicated earlier, the stakes are very high. And I'm going to take a sip of water because I've been on the road for 6 weeks and I'm totally losing my voice today. I've had it, I think.
I can answer that question about Lolo. Lolo is very excited about the book coming out. And so she always sits with me in my office as I'm working. So she's, kind of a co-author in many ways.
she's kind of a co-author. That's Kathy Lanigan is saying something, which is exactly the point of what I was attempting to say, which is makes me think about what I would be willing to do for that kind of cash. How important in the novel, Heather, was that the stakes? Because sometimes we'd say, why would you do that? And the answer is $10 million. Talk a little bit about why that's important and why you did that so carefully.
Yeah, there are so many reality shows out there right now, right? You can just turn the channel and there's a show on, and there's lots of payoffs for them. But I really wanted to create something that had never been seen or done quite the same way before. And I knew that I needed to keep the stakes really high. So of course that pot of money was really important. And then, we get to learn why these characters, why these contestants are chosen for the show. And they all have very different reasons. One that I can share is that we have a mom from Iowa who is a single mom with two young girls, and her daughter has a life-threatening illness, and she has no insurance, no money to pay for her care, and she's desperate because she needs a life-saving solution to help pay for her daughter's care. So the stakes are, especially high for her. But as we get to know the characters, we learn that for whatever reasons, good, bad, ugly, their stakes are just as high.
Stakes are just as high. Exactly. And talk about getting to know the other characters. The structure of this book is gorgeous, and the way that you introduce the characters is unique and fascinating and wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about how you did that and why you decided to do it that way?
Yeah, sure. So in the reality series, the contestants are really only known by a certain moniker. So we have um, the best friend. Okay, so she's known throughout the show as the best friend, though we don't really quite know why. Yes, and so we get her point of view. We have the senator, who is a former senator, and we get get some info on him as well. We have the boyfriend, who is an attorney from Atlanta, and we don't know why he's called the boyfriend. We get the confidant, who is a psychiatrist from the Bay Area, who's also this kind of self-help guru. And so we're not quite sure why she has the name she has. And finally, we have the executive, and he's big in business in his company, and so that's how they're known. So we get their different perspectives, but we also get what is called the vault, and that's where the contestants go into this little secret room and speak only to a camera, directly to the audience, talking about how they feel the game is going. And then we also have another perspective of the production assistant for the show. Her name is Fern, and she's young, she's enthusiastic, she's a hard worker, she's got a challenging boss, but she goes in there trying to get the work done. But she finds herself thrust into this world, this show where things are just going awry every turn.
Dawn's Devious Reads. I love that, Tess. I look forward to reading this. It sounds so interesting. I love that concept, Heather, of giving the contestants their monikers, as you call them, their descriptive names, because it makes the book be so even more relatable than it is already on the face of it, because we all know someone like that. We all have a relationship with someone like that, or we all are someone like that. It makes it very understandable and so immersive. As Sherry says, can't wait to read this. Was that the first way you started to write it, with it that way? Was that your first idea?
Not initially. I just knew I wanted to take these folks from all different walks of life, bring them together into a very, dangerous game. And really the idea was that everybody's watching, right? That's the title of the book. Everyone is watching, and that the whole world is watching because it's being live streamed throughout the world. And what they're doing on screen is being shown to everyone. And some things that they don't want shown or revealed is also
And
being.
that is so sinister, isn't it? The idea that, like in Big Brother, everybody is watching everything. So as Beverly says, I mean, as Emily says, it's like a locked room mystery, except everybody can see into the room and everyone is watching you. And when you're making your moves and you're doing your tactics in the game, somebody might be seeing you do that. And that is, how complicated was it to create that? I mean, I will tell you, I will just admit that I love Survivor. I love watching Survivor.
Me too.
And I do you. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. And I've looked at it. But I'm always in awe of how complicated it is. The crafting of the actual game and games is very complicated. How big of a challenge was that to you to create a game?
That it was really challenging. I had this idea for the book, and I thought, okay, I've got, where I want to start. I think I know where I want it to go, and I just started writing. Well, I ran into a lot of walls doing it that way. But as I wrote and got to know the characters, who changed exponentially as I wrote, and as I was creating these events, I'm so lucky to have a fabulous editor who I would consult with and talk to, and she would encourage me, go bigger, go darker. This is $10 million. So these challenges have to be worth $10 million. And so, I watched hours and hours of reality TV.
Somebody has to do the tough research.
Hours and hours of it. And, just said, okay, I see what they're doing here. How can I, jump off this and make it even grander and more dangerous and more suspenseful?
I mean, this is a question that I've never asked anyone, but what did you learn from watching all of that reality TV? Did something sort of together in your brain about that?
Yeah, I think, and it really came out, I think, as I was writing too, that as viewers, we really kind of claim these contestants, these characters, even though they're real people, as our own. And we feel like we get to know them, that we know them, intimately, and lots of judgment. Like, we have our favorites, we have who the villains are, and we sit behind our screens, and for me, if you really want to know what people think about a show, you go to the comment section on social media, right? And we get to know what people are thinking, and many people feel very comfortable sharing their opinions about, real people. And I thought that was really interesting. And so I did want to include that in the book as well. So you'll also see the threads from the audience who's watching and viewing, getting this, bird's eye view into what's happening on this estate, and their thoughts and opinions, and who their favorites are, and who they're rooting for along the way.
And also, what I'm so aware of in watching these shows is how manipulative they are. I mean, the producers of the shows can create how can project how the viewer is supposed to feel about a person by the snippets that they use and the focus that they use, the people they put in the forefront and the people that they leave in the background. We're being manipulated to feel a certain way about a show. And you saw that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Very clearly, there's whole shows that have villains versus the favorites, where they take the contestants and really, like you say, guide and manipulate viewers to have certain opinions.
And it's all about psychology, right? It's all about psychology and understanding someone's motivation, and how far can you push someone. Going back to your editor's thought earlier that Anissa was also commenting on, go darker. And that's one of the things that's interesting. Renee says it seems like producers encourage more drama than necessary. There's no such thing as more drama than necessary, right? I think
I agree. And that's like, this book was so much fun to write for that reason. It's like, go bigger. And, it's reality TV, anything goes almost. And
we're talking about everyone is watching, talking about a reality TV show like you've never seen or read about before. It's completely fascinating. And I'm taking us now to the estate where this takes place, which is gorgeous and terrifying and uniquely described in completely marvelous detail. Is that a real place or is that in your brain? How did you come up with the setting for this?
I would love to have said that I was able to travel to a place just like this in Italy, but no, but it is based off of the state on Lake Como in Italy. I did a lot of internet research, checked out a lot of books, um, was poured over videos and photos of a certain estate there, and really tried to bring it into the story. And yeah, I hope I did it justice, but it was a really a beautiful estate.
Well, it's beautiful but sinister with pitfalls
Hmm.
around every corner and secret passages and secret rooms and doors that do or don't lock. Did you feel, it's so immersive, this setting in this novel, and I could picture it absolutely throughout. Did you come to feel that you knew this place as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, whenever I sat down behind my keyboard, it was like going back into the villa and into the different rooms and the garden, the gardens, the estate. And yeah, it really became comfortable. And although you're right, eerie, there's definitely some eerie spots to the location as well. And yeah, just the more you spend the time you spend in a book, you get to know the characters better, you get to know the setting better, and um, as exciting and fast paced as the book was, it was hard to let go of the
Well,
characters at the end.
yes, and you will find it hard to let go of the
Mhm.
characters as well. You all, we're going to well, I'm not giving away because I'm keeping this. But Heather and her publisher are giving away a copy of Everyone is Watching to one lucky commenter. So make sure you leave a question or a comment or just general adulation or your thoughts about how much you want to read this book or applause for Heather Gudenkauf in the comments, and we will spin the wheel of fun in about 10 minutes to see who wins this marvelous book. You were saying that you were talking about how the characters revealed themselves as you were working on this book. Does that mean you didn't know what was going to happen? It was a surprise to you along the way, or did you plan the whole thing out?
Mhm. No, I am a definite or have been a definite pantser. So writing by the seat of my pants, I have an idea for a book. I have some character. I definitely had some characters in mind. But as I wrote, everything seemed to change. The characters changed from, you know, a house husband to a psychiatrist. And, they just, some characters came, some went, some stayed, some didn't. It took me a long time to settle into this book and to find the right contestants, characters for this novel. And when I finally did, it worked because the book is based on these motivations for all this money. I really had to have good, solid reasons as to why they would need it or want it, and why they would want to keep the secrets that they have hidden away. And so it took me a long time. So I think I rewrote this book 3 times. Completely different ending, completely different characters in some cases.
So
So yeah.
this is so fascinating because Grayson Snow says, sounds like a great book. Yes, indeed. And it took 3 tries at least to get there. What is it like for a writer I mean, you're devoting your time to creating a character with a certain motivation and a certain need. And then your writer brain says, this isn't really working. How do you deal with that? Is that something that you welcome because, oh boy, finally it's an answer? Or you think, no, 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 it's got to be okay. I worked so hard on this. Talk a little bit about the writer brain in that situation.
Yeah, for me, I hold on tight. I hold on tightly to those pages I've created and those characters. But, I if I sit back and reflect, and I do have an amazing editor, and some early readers who are great about giving honest feedback. It helps me see what works and doesn't work. They have that bird's eye view to see the big picture of a story. And so, as much as I hate to give up those characters or even those chapters, I know it's for the betterment of the book. And I never completely throw things away. I, like many authors, have what I call a cut file, where I, move those unused portions into um, a file that maybe that character cutting room floor might end up in another story in a different way.
So did you come up with the reasons for the money, the stakes first, or the character first, and then figure out why they wanted it?
I came up with the characters first, because I knew I needed to make them all very different from one another, to have, very different pasts, very different professions. And then, I spent a lot of time thinking about what might motivate this person. So I came up with the character, their professions, and then, what big secret
Yeah,
they
their
were
secret.
holding on to.
What big secret?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a writer, when you have this many characters in an ensemble cast, it is a real juggle to differentiate the characters from each other. And your labeling of the chapters is glorious help for that. But even without the labels, I think I know we would have known who the characters were. How top of mind was it for you to make sure that each character was just this jewel of a recognizable person?
It was really important to me. It was challenging because you do want to make them, very recognizable without being too stereotypical, and over the top in that sense. So there was some finessing that needed to be done there, for sure. But yeah, the characters, I think, for me, are the heart of any story, and so getting them right was really important.
We were talking earlier about how, and I want to be careful about this because a Heather Gudenkauf book is, propulsive and immersive and a page turner and suspenseful and provocative and unguessable. But there's a different sense in this novel. You were talking earlier about being centered in Iowa previously, and
Mhm.
one is not. And also the characters in other Heather Gudenkauf books that I've read, which is all of them, are smaller, sort of tender, heartbreaking, familial, very close relationships, often about family, often about loss or grief or searching for someone. And the stories are gorgeous jewels, but small. And I say that in
Mhm.
the most complimentary
Yeah.
way. This is still a Heather Gudenkauf book with all your fabulous skill and talent, but it feels different. Is that true? And what was it like to write that?
Yeah, that I think you nailed it. Yeah, I tend to, my earlier books really focus on families or mothers, and they're put in these extreme situations. Um, there's heartache, loss, intrigue, and all tucked within a thriller. But this one, it is, has a broader set of characters with more backgrounds. They come from all walks of life, and they aren't always likable. Many of these characters, aren't there isn't a lot to like about some of them. And so that was a little bit different for me to write as well, because I think while I've always written flawed characters, there was always something that we connected with them. And I think you do with, several of the characters in this book, but they're very flawed. And though we find ways to root for some of them we aren't rooting for at all.
But in the context of a game show, that's exactly how we watch the game
Mhm.
show, is that there are some
Right.
people that we root for and some people that we don't. And so that makes us very comfortable in this novel. We're not looking to root for everyone. You can't root for everyone to
Right.
win a game. So for you to set up someone who may or may not be a villain throughout, that's what we expect for, and that's what makes us feel comfortable reading this book. It is irresistible, you all. So your editor was saying, and Anissa was saying earlier, that she or he wanted you to go darker, darker.
Mhm.
This book is, in a good way, darker. Was that what kind of steps did you take to go darker. And was that a precipice for you? Was that a line? Were there lines that you were surprised you crossed?
Yeah, there were a couple of really tense scenes. There are a few really tense scenes in the book that I wondered to myself, boy, this is really pushing it. And, um, but I think it's what the lent itself to the book and to the story it needed to, because again, what these characters are fighting for and what, they're in literally their lives in many ways. It was important to go darker and
Well, you can't.
deeper.
Yeah, and deeper. I think deeper may
Mhm,
be also equally important as darker,
mhm.
because when the stakes are high, you can't really pull your punches. The stakes for you as an author are equally high to make this be completely believable, that the motivations are completely understandable, and that the battle lines are drawn, except they change throughout. And that's part of the fun of watching a game. In about 1 minute, we're going to ask for you. Nail biting scene, says Valerie Brooks. Yes, I love dark thrillers. In about 1 second, we're going to get some questions from you all. So make sure you pop those in the comments so we can make sure that we put those on the screen. But Heather, let me say, you're about to go on tour in real life, in real cities, and maybe you'll be able to see some crime timers
I
out on.
love that.
Can you tell us where you're going to be?
Yeah, so I am going to start out in my old hometown in Dubuque, Iowa at River Lights, second edition, my original hometown, Indy. And I'm going to take Lola with me. So anybody who's coming out for that, Lola will be joining me for that event. And then I'll be doing one in my new hometown with Swamp Fox Books, which is also a woman-owned business that fabulous ladies who really welcomed me to the community. And then I get to travel to Michigan and Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be at Foxtail Books with Kimberly Bell, and I'll be in St. Louis, and then back in Des Moines, Iowa, next Saturday. And then I'll come home for a little bit, and then I'm back on the road again.
I cannot wait. I hope you will come to Boston at some point. I'd
Oh,
adore
I
to
would
see
love that.
you in Boston. Do you like being on the road? Do you enjoy that?
I do and I don't. I love getting out and seeing readers. That's my favorite part, connecting with, fellow book lovers. That is so much fun. But I am also like this major homebody. And so I like, being in my little house in my uh, couch with Lolo. But it is such a treat to be able to go out because it's been so long since I've been on the road, because my last two books were pandemic books. And just getting the chance to get out and talk with people about reading and books is so much fun.
I've been on the road for 6 weeks, which is why I'm
Yeah.
losing my voice, you all. Um,
Yeah.
and it is never a dull moment and always an adventure, and really brings tears to my eyes to see the people who I met who watch Crime Time. I mean, to really see people, except not just in the comments, but their real faces and their real selves. So I wish you bon voyage on this
Thank you.
marvelous journey. Let's take some questions from our wonderful audience. Oh, Katie. Hey, Katie. I hope you're feeling well. What did you learn about yourself from this book? Good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I learned that I can rewrite and write a book 3 times and not give up. Because there were some times when I was thinking, can I do it? Can I
Oh,
pull it off? Because it is different. It is a different vibe for me as a book. And I also learned that I could watch an inordinate number of hours of reality TV and still come out on the other side.
are you still watching Survivor whenever it's on?
Oh yeah, I love Survivor. That's a staple for sure. Yeah.
Believe how long that show's been on?
No, no, it's been I remember when it first came out.
I do too. And there was so much derision and so much sneering about it. And I would hear
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, I hate Survivor," and then they would just say everything that happened on it. They had clearly watched it.
That's right.
Margaret saying, "Hey, Margaret," says, "If you're sorry to
Margaret.
lose characters, does that mean a sequel or a new season of the show?"
Oh,
Mhm.
wow, that would be fun. I've always been someone who would love to write a series. I don't know if this is the book for that, because you'll see that things get kind of tidied up pretty well at the end of this book. But every book I write, I do ask my editor, how about we make this one a series? Because I love reading thriller and mystery series myself.
Your books are so, every one of them is so, I mean, I'm thinking about The Overnight Guest, and I thought, maybe that could be, that they're so gorgeously wrapped up, and it feels like it's the most important thing that ever happened to these people's lives. And we know their story, and that's kind of all we need, kind of all we need, kind of all.
Right.
Who else has a question? Do you have a favorite character? Says Shannon Hansen.
So for this book, yeah, it's hard to pick favorites sometimes, but there are a few that stand out for me in this book. I love Mare. She's the Iowa mom with the two daughters, and I love Fern, and she is the production assistant who gets thrown into this wild show, and she finds herself in many ways doing things she never thought she would dream of, just like the characters or the contestants are doing as well.
That's why it's called a thriller. That's why it's called a thriller. Maybe we'll take 2 more questions. Who's been the hardest character to write, says Anissa. Hey, Anissa, on the road. That's marvelous.
Oh gosh, in all of my books. That is a really good question. I think the most challenging one, but also one that I love so much, is Amelia from Not a Sound. So Amelia is a character who finds herself, ends up being profoundly deafened in an accident. And in choosing to write about a character who is deaf, I knew I was taking on something really big and important, and I wanted to get it right. And so I spent a lot of time on her character. I did a lot of research into the deaf community. I do have a profound hearing loss, but I can hear, but I wanted to get it right. And I reached out to a lot of people in the deaf community and got their blessing. So that was really important to me. But I want to get it right. So I spent a lot of time on that character.
I mean, Not a Sound is such a tour de force because there's no sound in the novel. And I'm still in awe of how you did that. So highly recommended. When this show is over, you can run right out and pre-order. Everyone is watching, and look for Not a Sound as well. Valerie says, what was different than the setting about writing this thriller from your others?
Yeah, I think it is really it's kind of an epic storyline, I guess. We have all these characters who have really different backgrounds, different secrets, and they all clash, and they all come together in this big kind of epic showdown in a way, and to see who's going to be the survivor, the one lucky winner of this game, which really isn't a game. And so I think that was different for me. It's a big cast of characters.
It sounds like it was a marvelous challenge to write.
Yes.
A marvelous book to read. You all do not miss Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkauf. And right now, one of you will not want to go buy this novel because you're going to get a free copy of it from Heather herself. Let's spin the wheel of fun and see who's going to win this absolutely terrific book. And the winner is, look at all you wonderful people who are here today. So happy to see you all. And I see some new faces and some veteran faces. And the winner is Lori Alcon Brown. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Or you will get a notice to email me, and I will email the executive producer, who will email Heather's publisher, who will email Heather, who will get you the book. And that is how publishing works. So congratulations, Lori. We're so pleased that you won this book. And I'm looking at all of your comments. It is so nice that you are cheering Lori on, saying congratulations. Renee is asking, I'll make this be the final question. Renee is asking, did you know who was going to win the game?
No, I thought I did. And no, I didn't. In the end, you'll just have to read to find out. The whole end was a complete surprise to me. And it's entirely so.
That is one of the reasons that is a joy to read this book. Don't even try to figure it out, you all. Just open the pages and go for an amazing ride. Everyone is watching a game show like you have never read about before. It is out on Tuesday, the 26th, but of course you can pre-order it right now. And you smart people know what a difference pre-orders make. Publishers notice that. The industry notices that. So don't think, oh, I'll go buy this someday. Call your favorite indie bookstore or wherever you buy books. We don't care where you buy them. just pre-order Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkauf. She can't say that, but I can say that, right? As the host. Before I let you go, Heather, let me remind you all that coming up in 15 minutes here on Crime Time, we'll have our author, our 4 o'clock author. Look who we have, Simone St. James with Murder Road.
Excited for that one.
Oh my golly, it is terrifying. I just have to tell you, it is one of those, oh my golly, what is happening here? It is terrifying. I cannot wait to talk to Simone St. James about Murder Road. And I will be back with Simone in about 15 minutes. Until then, Heather, we'll see you when you get back. Cannot wait to hear all of your adventures. And remind everyone, Heather is part of the Killer Authors. I know if you don't know about if you know about them, you love them. If you don't know about them, please take 2 minutes or 2 seconds to tell us about Killer Authors, because I want everybody to participate in your marvelous show.
Yeah, thank you. So again, Killer Author Club is an author interview series that I do with Kara Ruda and Kimberly Bell, both amazing thriller writers as well. And we talk to some of your favorite thriller writers and mystery writers, and we talk all things killing, fictional, of course. And we have a cocktail, some giveaways. It's a lot of fun. So you can find us at killerauthorclub.com or at Facebook or Instagram. And Hank, I have to tell you, you know how much I loved One Wrong Word.
Oh, well, thank you.
Favorite character I think you've ever written is the main character in this book. Loved it so much. So congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. That is so kind of you. It really makes a difference. And if you look on my Facebook page, you'll find Heather doing her book face. She's half of the novel. That is quite fabulous. And I really appreciate that, Heather. And I really appreciate all of you too. It's so nice that Margaret Lang is saying, having some throat coat tea. I do have throat coat tea. And Kathy Lanigan says, I just joined the Killer Author Club. So there you have it. You will love Kathy Lanigan. You all, I am so pleased that you came today. Heather, congratulations. I will hope that I will see the rest of you in about 15 minutes. We're taking the next week on hiatus because I have to finish my book. And then we'll be back at the beginning of April with, look at this, Amy Tintera, Looking for the Lie. I know. I can't wait to read this. Have you read it?
No, I've heard great things, though.
Great things.
Great things.
And Valerie says, One Wrong Word is spectacular. I'm glad we stayed up so you could put that up. Thank you. Yeah. Spectacular. So we'll see you in 15 minutes for Simone St. James. And we'll see you on April 2nd for Amy Tintera. And remember, until then, it's always safe inside a book. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.